But Caden's story is one that I think is a lot of people are interested in seeing or discussing because, he is one that was originally committed to Auburn and recently came out on Twitter and said that he is decommitting from Auburn. And he was a defensive line commit, and go figure who was the defensive line commit at Auburn just a few months ago, and that was Nick Eason, who is now the defensive line coach at Clemson. So, or defensive tackles coach, I guess you could say, at Clemson. So, this is one that's interesting. Now, he is going to visit other schools, and I haven't heard that he is actually going to visit. I haven't really looked it up, to be honest with you. I haven't looked online or Twitter or anything, but I haven't checked out JP's post recently. But from what I saw, we didn't have his name down as visiting, but this is a guy who just this last weekend, this is the reason why it's even more important. He's mentioning that he's going to go to Florida and check them out. But Nick Eason just recently visited his family in an in-home visit and was jamming out on the guitar with his dad. His dad was playing an instrument, and he was over there rocking out. And I think they were doing a praise and worship song, fellas, to be honest with you. So a good Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon worship service in the house. Now, to me, those are some good signs for Clemson to be able to land Caden Story, a defensive line, 6'3", 282, 4-star. So I'm going to bring up some video of him. Now I'm looking at huddle.com, and he has a couple of like chopped up videos of him. So let me, bear with me. He doesn't actually, I don't have like an actual senior highlight of him. But let's pull up some of his highlights from some of the games that he played. So he has some like individual games, fellas. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So we'll get through some of these commercials, but as we're waiting on the commercial to load here, I want to go ahead and preview him, and we'll pause it here because about 30 seconds. So not much time on that video, but defensive lineman, 6'3", 282 pounds, 4-star from Lynette High School in Alabama. Now, from Lynette High School, they're a decent high school. They made it to the playoffs, I believe. And so he's somebody that has helped out his team, and he is definitely a big presence out there. I said, you want to see somebody who first can get off blocks. You don't want to see somebody that's constantly being held up in blocks at the high school level. So he needs to get off blocks fast. Now, the question is, does he use speed like maybe a Jaheim Lawson, getting to the outside quickly? Or does he use brute force and power? Or maybe does he use both? Well, let's take a look and see some of his film here. Al, when I tell you about Caden Story, what excites you about him?
Well, look, I think it's really big to be in it with a guy like this so late in the cycle, because a lot of these guys are usually spoken for by now. He's a versatile lineman. He has really good size. He plays all along that line. I think you listed him, as about 6'3", 280. He may be an inch shorter than that. Who knows? They embellish those stats a lot. I'm sure he'll play at Clemson around 300 pounds. I think he has really good length for his size, which is very important. It's very important to Clemson. They do the same thing with defensive ends. They like guys with a long wingspan. He's going to be a guy who can help clog the run game and potentially provide a little bit of pass rush from the inside, which is something Clemson values. I think those are all good things that he does. He bends and moves really well, actually, for a guy his size. I think he's going to need to develop a little bit of his technique and hand usage, which, is something I say for a lot of defensive tackles at high school level. It's a very common thing. It's a very easy thing to teach. He starts pretty low in his stance, which I like, but he gets upright too quickly, I think, in the high school game, which that's something they can knock out pretty easily as well. So I'm not too concerned with that. I think he's going to be an impact player down the road, not necessarily immediately. But, hey, this is an absolute steal for Clemson if he does commit, actually. And I'm glad that Eason got in and made these relationships so we could have a chance at him.
You're seeing some of the film here. Again, can he get off blocks? I mean, I think there's a little bit of both. I think he's speed to the inside, speed to the outside, and there's sometimes where he's just bowling over you. One thing that I wrote down is his wingspan, man. I mean, he can come get you, and it's very difficult to get around him because he can grab you with his long arms. I think I read on 24/7 like 80 inches or something like that. It's just a massive, massive human being, and as you can see, just thick, huge frame there for a guy who really, 6'3", 282. Houston, size wise, it sounds like that's really right where you want him, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, but like Al said, you get him around 300, that's an animal. Like that's something. If you're able to maintain the power that you have and your speed, you don't have much drop off. I think he could be like Al said, someone who, initially you may not see, but I mean, like Peyton Page. Peyton Page has been someone who has been gradually worked into the system, and you'll see more of him next year. So by 2023, Peyton Page is going to be the force on that D line. I think the same thing's going to happen with Caden Story. He's going to gradually be worked into the system, get all these technique things worked out, get him built up a little bit more. And then by the time he hits his mid-sophomore, early junior year, he's going to be the force on that defensive line.
Talking about defensive line, there's just a film right there of him playing tight end. So, I mean, you've got to be athletic enough to play both sides of the field in that case. So, he's just so big. It just looks awkward when he's out there playing tight end. Now, I'll say this, I don't know much about his competition there in Alabama, but it seems as if they're one of the better 2A schools out there in the league. They didn't win the championship game. I think they got all the way to the quarterfinals in their state championships for the 2A region there. So a team that is definitely altogether a decent team for his region. But obviously, I mean, look at him. I mean, there are certain, now this film right here, the left tackle is about as big as him, but for most part, he is just outweighing and a lot taller than anybody that's in front of him. Now, that is the question there is that something that's just because he is, bigger than everybody else around him, or is there more to it? We'll have to see, but I think he has the tools that you need to be able to perform and be good at the high school or at the college level. Again, he has that relationship with Nick Eason. Another thing, I don't want to throw a shot. I do want to throw a shot, but it is very interesting that you would leave a program and you not only have no recruits to even worry about leaving with you, but the guy replacing you within a week, Al, has a guy that is potentially could come and be a part of kind of the package of Nick Eason, a decommit that's coming. The guy that left had no recruits. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't do good in past years,
sure,
but had no recruits to worry about leaving, had no players getting into the portal when he left. And this guy at least has one guy that's coming in. And I will say this too. He had a situation where he told his former players at Auburn the situation. Now, his mom, she always wanted him, before she passed away, I believe, always wanted him to be a coach at Clemson. So it's a lifetime dream for him to fulfill for his mother and for himself too, because he's a former football player at Clemson. So I think, again, this is more culture building. This is more just development. And Nick Eason has so much knowledge in the NFL and in the college game. I mean, really, as we mentioned about this the past couple of weeks, can you be more excited about the 2022 season? It seemed like November kind of getting on a low, and the season kind of after the season getting beat up. And now we're seeing this guy who's a potential get from Nick Eason, first defensive line guy. I'm excited about it. I mean, he's huge, massive guy. Now, Clemson still has to beat out other teams out there. Like we mentioned, they have to beat out Florida. I think somebody put in the chat that they also have to possibly beat out Oregon or some other teams that are trying to do a late push as well. We'll have to see what they do. But again, still completely excited to see what Clemson can do to finish out this class.